Okay, let's look at number 7. I think number 7 is the easiest and probably, I don't know how it's formatted, but in my lab, probably the easiest one to submit an answer to. Consider a nation with a government that does not provide people with property rights for a number of items and that fails to enforce the property rights it does assign for remaining items. Would externalities be more or less common in this nation than in a country such as the United States? And of course, explain. Well, we looked at the tragedy of the commons, and one solution to the tragedy was to assign property rights. And the reason is because when property rights are assigned, when people own it, they tend to take better care of it than when it's shared. And I know on the discussion boards, I've asked the question, why do you suppose people litter? And I didn't hear, or I have not seen anyone reply that people don't litter. People do litter. Probably it's not as bad as it could be because, as a lot of people point out, in different ways, it's against social norms. So that is one enforcement mechanism that works fairly well. Most people don't litter, but some people do litter. And the reason that people litter, and the reason that so often it's up to governments to go clean up litter, not individuals, is because the roadsides are common resources. Now, when I litter, I don't litter, but when people litter, when they throw stuff out their windows, they're passing costs on to everyone else. When costs are on your own, uh, you tend to take better care of things. In other words, most people who litter by throwing things out their car window, most often probably don't throw things out their front door or their house window. Because if they do that, then they own the damage they're doing. Then they're not passing it on to everyone else. And so when you have private property rights, you own the damage that you do. You own your decisions. If you make good decisions with your property value in terms of land tends to go up. If you don't, it tends to go down. There are other things that affect that, but all else held constant, that's generally so. The better you take care of your stuff, the more you can preserve your stuff's value. But if it isn't your stuff, preserving its value doesn't mean as much to you. You're not incentivized to do it. So, would we expect to be more externalities in a country that doesn't have property rights? Yes, we would expect there to be more externalities in a country with weaker property rights than in a country that has stronger property rights because things are shared, and in things being shared, costs are shared, and sharing costs with others is a negative externality.